To live is to suffer, to survive is to find some meaning in the suffering. Friedrich Nietzsche. But what if meaning refuses to come? What if awareness itself sharpens every edge of pain? You stand not on a battlefield of blood and iron, but in the far darker war within your own skull. The silent war of thought, of knowing too much, of feeling too deeply. Arthur Schopenhauer would tell you, this is the human condition magnified by intellect. To think deeply is to suffer profoundly. To see life clearly is to see its inevitable tragedy. The streets of 19th century Frankfurt reeked of horse sweat and smoke, but behind heavy curtains, a philosopher sat in near darkness, his desk littered with ink-stained pages, his face etched in perpetual scorn at the absurdity of it all. Schopenhauer wrote, "Life swings like a pendulum backward and forward between pain and boredom." Pain, boredom, no escape. The more you think, the sharper you feel that pendulum swing. The more you know, the harder the blow when reality strikes. Why? Because ignorance shields. The simple live simply, Schopenhauer argued. They do not see the futility. They chase pleasure, routine, distraction. And in their blindness, they are free. But you, the one who thinks. You, the one who questions. You, the one who peers too far into life's machinery. You see the gears grind life into dust. You see how fleeting joy is, how fragile achievement feels, how endless desire burns. Is that why the brilliant often suffer in silence? Not because they are weak, but because they see what others refuse to see. Schopenhauer believed consciousness was not a gift. It was a curse, a mirror that reflected the futility of existence in perfect clarity. And yet, here's the paradox, this curse drives creation. The artist paints because life hurts. The thinker writes because silence roars too loud. The inventor builds because stillness would shatter his mind. Carl Jung says, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. A line Schopenhauer would have nodded at grimly. But what of beauty? What of creation? Can a mind drenched in darkness still birth light? This is where another figure steps from the shadows. A man of sketches and blueprints. Of anatomy and flight. Of paintings so perfect they seem carved from eternity. Leonardo da Vinci. Yet do not mistake his genius for serenity. His notebooks are filled with unfinished thoughts. His paintings, unfinished works. His brilliance, a fire that burned restless through his veins. If Schopenhauer suffered from seeing life as tragedy, Da Vinci suffered from seeing life as never complete. Two burdens, two minds, two ways of knowing too much. Which one is heavier? Before we step into Da Vinci's torment, ask yourself, does your own mind ever feel like a trap? Does your curiosity comfort you, or cut you? Share your thoughts below. And stay with us, because what waits in Da Vinci's world is not peace. It is obsession. It is beauty forged in torment. It is genius that could not rest. I have offended God and mankind because my work did not reach the quality it should have. Leonardo da Vinci. The man who painted the Mona Lisa felt like a failure. Let that thought linger. Let it disturb you. Because what does it say about genius? What does it say about the restless mind that refuses to rest even when it creates masterpieces? You stand in Renaissance Florence. The air hums with the scent of wet stone and burning oil lamps. The city is alive, art exploding from every corner, sculptures breathing like marble gods. And there is Leonardo, not in the public square where applause echoes, but alone, bent over a wooden desk covered in sketches of machines no one would understand for centuries. Helicopters before helicopters, anatomy before modern medicine, ideas leaping beyond the world's grasp. But the genius feels unfinished, always unfinished. Schopenhauer believed the curse of the intellectual was seeing life's futility. But Da Vinci bore a different curse, the perfectionist's torment, the eternal whisper that nothing is ever good enough. His notebooks are an open wound of obsession. Thousands of pages of ideas, most never brought to completion. The Last Supper, crumbling before his eyes even as he painted it. The Mona Lisa, revised for years, yet never declared finished by its creator. Why? Because his mind could not stop. It saw not just what was, but what could be, what should be, what must be. And yet, reality moved slower than imagination. Hands could not keep up with thought. Time could not stretch to hold his visions. This is the agony of the brilliant creator. The burning need to reach an impossible horizon. The torment of staring at a masterpiece and seeing only flaws invisible to the world. Michelangelo once said, "Trifles make perfection, and perfection is no trifle." But Leonardo knew perfection was a ghost, and he chased it through shadows, through sleepless nights, through the suffocating silence of being misunderstood. Does this sound familiar to you? The gnawing sense that no matter how much you do, it's never enough? That success tastes hollow because your mind already demands more? This is where Da Vinci and Schopenhauer meet. Not in philosophy, but in suffering. One believed life's pain lay in its futility. The other felt it in its incompletion. Both knew the heavy price of seeing the world too clearly. But here is the question that burns like a hidden ember. Would Da Vinci trade his torment for ignorance? Would he give up his restless brilliance to live simply, blindly, contentedly? Or is suffering the price of touching eternity? Da Vinci's burden was not despair, it was fire. The kind of fire that devours sleep, comfort, peace. The kind of fire that makes you create, even when it hurts. As you stand before his paintings today, you do not see torment. You see beauty. But beauty often grows from wounds no one else can see. Carl Jung warns us, no tree, it is said, can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell. Da Vinci's roots sank deep, not into hell of punishment, but of obsession, perfectionism, longing for more than life could ever allow. Now, step back. You've seen Schopenhauer's shadow. You've touched Da Vinci's flame. But what about your own mind? Do you feel more like Schopenhauer, trapped in knowing life's futility? Or Da Vinci, haunted by visions of what could be, yet unable to reach it? Whose burden would you rather carry? The burden of seeing too much, or of never doing enough? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Your struggle might echo there's more than you know. But this story isn't over. Because beyond individual torment lies a deeper question. Is suffering the inevitable companion of high intelligence? Or is it the very thing that shapes greatness? Stay. Because now, we descend into the psychology of inner exile, where these burdens are not just philosophical, but personal, and dangerously close to your own life. The more intelligent, the more isolated. Ernest Hemingway. Intelligence is not a crown. It is a weight. You feel it in the quiet moments. When the world laughs at trivial things. When the room feels loud, but no one is speaking your language. Schopenhauer saw this as inevitable. He wrote, "The person who writes for fools is always sure of a large audience." Bitter words, but not without truth. Because the deeper the thought, the fewer minds can follow. And the fewer who follow, the lonelier the path. This is inner exile. A life where your thoughts stretch further than the bridges others can cross. Where conversation feels shallow. Where connection feels thin. But it is not just philosophy. It is dark psychology. The mind turns inward. Questions multiply. Silence grows heavy. And the very intelligence that promises understanding breeds isolation instead. Why? Because to see deeply is to see differently. To think sharply is to question what others accept. And to question everything is to risk standing alone. Yet it's not just loneliness that haunts the intelligent. It is overthinking, analysis that spirals, endless what ifs, a mind that cannot rest. Modern psychology calls it cognitive hyperarousal, a constant state of mental unrest. The brain becomes a labyrinth. And the exit? Always one step ahead, just out of reach. Leonardo da Vinci lived in this labyrinth. His notebooks were not simply designs and sketches. They were fragments of a restless consciousness. Observations about rivers, studies of flight, drawings of machine centuries beyond his time. But they were also confessions. Silent admissions of a mind that could not slow down long enough to finish one thought before birthing 100 more. Schopenhauer, by contrast, chose withdrawal. Isolation was not his torment, it was his shield. He kept dogs for companionship because people disappointed him. He called the world a miserable place and urged retreat into art, music, philosophy. Two strategies. One escapes through endless creation, the other through bitter detachment. Which would you choose? Would you burn like Leonardo, never satisfied? Or freeze like Schopenhauer, accepting life as a cruel joke? Yet beneath their methods lies the same truth. High intelligence can feel like imprisonment. not because the world locks you out, but because your own mind won't let you rest. But here lies the twist. The very thing that isolates, the overthinking, the restless curiosity, the dark awareness, is also the seed of greatness. Without it, there would be no Mona Lisa, no philosophical treatises, no inventions centuries ahead of their time. Carl Jung whispers again, there is no light without shadow, and no psychic wholeness without imperfection. Intelligence carries shadow. Shadow carries suffering. And suffering, paradoxically, carves the path to brilliance. But what of happiness? What of peace? Are they luxuries reserved for simpler minds? Or can a thinker, a restless genius, find a way to bear the weight without breaking under it? As you stand between Schopenhauer's shadow and Da Vinci's fire, ask yourself, are you willing to pay the price of seeing more? Of feeling deeper? Of chasing perfection knowing it will escape you? Because the next step in this journey is not philosophical. It is a duel, a final confrontation between resignation and obsession, between surrendering to life's pain and raging against it through creation. Whose words will strike you deeper? Whose path feels closer to yours? The debate begins, and it will not end cleanly. A man can do what he wills, but he cannot will what he wills. Arthur Schopenhauer. Learning never exhausts the mind. Leonardo da Vinci. Two minds, two burdens, two opposing ways of carrying the weight of brilliance. The room is dark. A single candle burns between them, Schopenhauer on one side, Da Vinci on the other. Not in life, but in the imagination of history. A debate across time, across temperament, across the nature of suffering itself. Schopenhauer leans back, cold and composed. His voice is sharp, almost surgical. Life, he says, is driven by a blind, relentless force, the will. It pulls you toward desire. Desire breeds suffering. And when desire fades, boredom swallows you whole. This is existence, an endless pendulum between pain and emptiness. And the sharper the mind, the more keenly it feels the futility. You hear the words, and feel the sting. Because who among us has not felt the hollow ache after achieving something we thought would bring joy? Who has not tasted victory, only to find it flavorless? Schopenhauer sees this truth and folds inward. He urges retreat, not into despair, but into detachment. Art, philosophy, music, beauty as anesthetic against the raw wound of life. But Da Vinci, restless, fiery, leans forward. No, he counters softly. The ache you speak of, it is not futility, it is fuel. His words glow like sparks. Yes, the mind longs for more than life can give. But that longing births visions. It builds bridges where none stood. It paints smiles that whisper across centuries. It sketches the flight of birds and dares to imagine man could soar beside them. Suffering is not a curse. It is the raw material of creation. The candle flickers. Schopenhauer smirks faintly, as though amused by the optimism. Creation, he replies, is merely distraction, a game the mind plays to avoid staring into the abyss. And when the canvas is complete, when the invention stands tall, the abyss waits still, always waiting. The words hang heavy. The silence stretches. But then Da Vinci speaks again, and his tone cuts like a blade. Perhaps. But if the abyss waits, let us at least build light before it swallows us. Let us leave behind proof that we saw further, felt deeper, dreamed beyond our cage. Here lies the duel, not of swords, but of souls. Resignation versus restless pursuit. One seeks escape from life's agony. The other seeks meaning inside it. And you are not a spectator. You are part of this argument. Which speaks closer to your own struggle? The cold wisdom of Schopenhauer, accepting life's pain as unalterable? Or the burning defiance of Da Vinci, creating as if the act itself redeems the torment? The candle burns lower. The air feels heavier. Schopenhauer closes his eyes and murmurs, a man can be himself only so long as he is alone, and if he does not love solitude, he will not love freedom. Da Vinci, without looking away, answers, as a well-spent day brings happy sleep, so a life well used brings happy death. Two closing statements, two philosophies, two paths through the dark. The candle dies, and you are left alone with the silence. But the question lingers like smoke. Which burden would you choose? The stillness of resignation? Or the fire of restless creation? Leave your thoughts below, because your mind, your burden, your brilliance, they are part of this eternal debate. This is Legend Legacy, where history speaks, and you decide which voice lingers. If this story struck you, if these questions burned inside you, share your thoughts. Engage with the minds of others, and subscribe to walk deeper into the shadows where genius dwells. Because here, in these timeless debates, the past does not whisper. It roars.